Welcome to the Traveling Cheesehead Podcast, where real stories, local voices, and unforgettable destinations come together. This is Destination Diaries, conversations with people who know their destinations best.
Hi friends, I'm Dannelle Gay, the Traveling Cheesehead. Travel writer, TV host, and someone who believes the best trips don't start with a bucket list, they start with a conversation. Every week, I sit down with someone who knows their destination inside and out to uncover the stories, flavors, and experiences that make it truly worth the trip. After the break, you'll meet this week's guest. So grab a cup of coffee, of course in your travel mug, and let's hit the road. Okay, we're back, everybody. Buckle up and get ready for a fun ride. And yes, I say ride literally. We're talking about Route 66 today, by Brady Wilson. And I met him at the American Bus Association conference because I also lead group tours. And he was talking all about the Texas part of Route 66. So we're talking in beautiful Texas. Brady, welcome to the show.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and talk about my pride and joy, which is the state of Texas. And I've had the pleasure to live in 3 different areas of Texas now, and that's a pride and joy. But I love Route 66, and I'm passionate of what I get to do and be a part of here in the Texas Panhandle, and grateful to get to share some stuff with y'all this morning.
Wonderful. So we're glad to have you here. And now we're going to dive into the fun stuff, the big 7 questions that we always ask everybody. What makes that section of the Texas Route 66 special, the thing that really surprises most first-time visitors that they don't really expect maybe when they're going through it, but end up talking about it long after they leave?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Something that I probably should have mentioned in my intro was I am the Membership and Communication Director currently for the Old Route 66 Association of Texas. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that's been around since 1990, promoting, preserving, and protecting historic Route 66 through the Panhandle. There's currently 152 drivable miles. Originally, when the alignment was first built, there's 178. So while we are low in numbers, we're out of all the 8 states, we have the second lowest amount of miles that you can drive, and that were there originally. We have a lot going on in this mighty section. Bunch of photo ops, bunch of attractions. If you're coming from the east, we like to believe we're the first true Western state that shows the Western heritage of lifestyle. A lot of people think Texas is agriculture related, and agriculture has a big emphasis on Texas Panhandle, which also back in the day had a big part of Route 66 history. So we like to play along with that. You know, we include the classic Americana with the motels and the gas stations and the neon lights, which we lack some in Texas because of history and time. But with all that being said, we are a friendly visiting spot, and we want people to come and feel like this is their second home. With all the attractions and photo opportunities and diners and restaurants and everything in between, you've got a place here in Texas. It feels like home. And that goes for the entire state.
So what you're saying is that 152 mile section surprises people with how much you have in it. Yeah. And I like how you said the start of the Western states representation of it. So that would be kind of surprising. You'd think of Texas as being, I mean, it's a huge state, but you only go through a small part of it. And so, yeah, if they're thinking Texas agriculture, cattle, and things like that, that's not necessarily going to be their experience on your part of Route 66. That's kind of cool.
That will be part of their experience. I mean, they're going to drive past some cotton fields, past some cattle farms or cattle ranches, and they're going to see trucks driving through these small communities, hauling livestock, hauling crops. It's a big deal in the Panhandle. It's actually the largest agricultural producing area currently in the state of Texas. Wow. And a lot of people don't realize that, but it's the gateway to Western heritage, and a lot of our like the scenery we like to believe had a role in some of like the John Wayne movies. It's kind of what it reminds you of, especially when you go west of Amarillo. You get towards the Mesa lands, and kind of brings out the old Western heritage movies out in real life.
Well, and that's like set jetting is a huge thing right now. Going back and the movies whether current or from our childhood, places that remind us of them or where they were shot or what they were shot about. That's something that a lot of people love to do. So those of you that love your old Westerns, oh, this sounds like the place you definitely need to get your car going through. So,
And off of that, that's how I got involved in a way, except with the movie Cars, Pixar Cars. I am a younger kid, probably one of the younger that are so interested in Route 66. But I was born in 2004 and Cars came out in 2006. I have watched Cars probably 66 million times since 2006. I love that movie to death. But prior to me coming to the Amarillo area for college, I knew about Route 66 and I liked it at the time, but I really didn't have any idea what it truly was. Wasn't until my second and third semester, and I was still learning Amarillo when I was going out looking around, and I stopped on this 1 mile section in Amarillo called Historic 6th Street. And I was talking to this business owner, owns an antique shop, also an active leader in the association. And she got to explaining to me that I'm now in the backyard of Route 66. And she got to showing me things that were related to cars. That inspired me to get involved. A few weeks later, I took a little bus tour that the city of Amarillo, the Convention Visitor Bureau hosted, going east one day and west the next across the Texas section, spending all day from about 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And I fell in love. I got to see the inspirations that brought that movie to life.
Yay. All right. So 152 miles, that sounds very doable in a weekend. And that's what we have in the tourism business right now. A lot of people who they have their weekends free to go ahead and explore areas. So let's say someone only has 48 hours in your area. What would be that perfect 2-day itinerary, do you think? The things that they absolutely must see, must do, and must kind of experience?
Okay. So the good thing about our section here, we have a major city in the dead middle of the 152 miles called Amarillo. If you only had a weekend and you were able to come, drive up to Amarillo, fly in, we have several major airlines. I would recommend booking a hotel room in Amarillo, maybe driving east one day and west the next. It's real simple to do. You can go all the way to Oklahoma state line, visit the western counties. You've got the Shamrock in Shamrock, Texas, the U drop in Conoco Tower Station. It's a 1936 Art Deco landmark with the cafe and visitor center involved. It's got this nice tall tower on top of the building that is just gorgeous to look at. And also, you might even recommend staying the night there that night, because they have the building itself lights up in a neon color at night, green and red. It's an absolute stunning sight to see. So you can go that direction and stay the night in Shamrock and head your way back towards Amarillo. After you leave Shamrock and you visit what all they have to offer, you can stop in this tiny, tiny town called McLean, Texas. McLean is not a ghost town yet, but it is, you can tell the contrast between the old Route 66 and the new. It definitely was affected really heavy by the I-40 opening. Lots of business buildings are falling apart and things like that. So our mission in the association is to keep things going up in places like McLean. One of our pride and joys there in McLean is the Devil's Rope Museum and Texas Route 66 Museum. It is actually housed in an old brazier factory that Sears owned back in the day. And it employed about 500 women in the town from about the 40s to the 60s or 70s area. And so that's a neat little hidden gem that we love to talk about. And when people think barbed wire, Devil's Rope being barbed wire, that just throws people off. It's a quirky attraction. They're like, I don't think I'll be interested in that. And every time they say that, they stop it anyway, and that changes their mind. We keep seeing people coming back because of how quirky this attraction is and how just in awe they are by the creations of the barbed wire sculptures that we have, or the artwork, and also the history of it in general. A lot of people don't realize
that's so important. I mean,
it is.
Roping and barbed wire in the history of the westward expansion and the ranching and the farming communities, it was so important. And there's such a difference in different kinds of barbed wire even. I mean, I find that incredibly fascinating, but that is very important in our westward expansion.
Oh, yes. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize there's like several hundred patents of barbed wire out there. And we talk all about that stuff in the museum, and it's fascinating. Going down the road a little bit into McLean, we have a project that the association has taken on, and we have finished it now. We restored the first ever Phillips 66 oil station in 1936. It is in the state of Texas that was built on Route 66. We have restored it from the ground up, and is an awesome little photo attraction to stop and take a picture of and look at for a few minutes before you make your journey back towards Amarillo. In between McLean, you have a little tiny community called Allen Reed, and there's not much left in Allen Reed anymore. It's probably about 20 or 30 people living there currently. But there's right in the middle of the intersection of what used to be the main town is a filling station owned by that was a Texaco station at one time, called the Kaiser Super 66 station. And we, as of a few months ago, we have taken on the task in the association to restore that station now. We love doing that kind of stuff to keep that stuff alive. So we highly recommend you coming through Allen Reed, taking a picture of that station, and maybe even learn about it on our website or other means of media. Between Allen Reed and the next community of Groom, there's a hidden gem that is kind of resurfaced the past several years. Started in 2020 when a family in Amarillo purchased this farmland. They wanted to grow some vegetables and stuff and flowers and help support, did a little side business kind of thing. What they didn't realize was they purchased a ghost town on this property.
Ooh.
And while yes, it is, it's called Jericho, the former town of Jericho, along the famous Jericho Gap. A Jericho Gap was like the first alignment in Texas, and it's like a 17-mile long stretch that was never paved in Route 66 history. The farmers and ranchers back in the early days, it was founded in 1902. So back then, those that lived along the route or the gap, when it came time to pave that section, they absolutely refused to pave it. So because of that, the highway department decided to reroute the Route 66 a mile north to an area where people wanted it to be paved. When that happened, that town died instantly, and by 1936, everybody had pretty much left Jericho. But there's still a building there. It's the ruins of the old tourist court and filling station building, and there's also a house there that's original from 1910 area, and I could be wrong on that date, but from the early 1900s, still standing. And this family who purchased that property in 2020 have been actively preserving that history since then, and they encourage you to come out all the time on your own free will to come experience it. Well, there is a bit of a rock and dirt road. It's definitely not a tour bus friendly stop sometimes, but it's such a cool hidden gem to look at. And once they were digging into the history, they actually found out that Mr. Blair, the husband, has family ties to Jericho. So it's all coming full circle.
Oh, how fun is that? And
Yes.
It makes me think of my grandma's sisters, so my great aunts, chicken farms and, Southern Indiana or Southern Illinois and all of that, and how she would talk about the hard road and the soft road. So the hard roads were the ones that, had been paved with blacktop, and the soft roads were the ones that were still dirt. And some communities only had soft roads because it was expensive to blacktop. They didn't want to do it, didn't want to put up the expense. They didn't think it was going to make a big difference. And that was 100 years ago plus. And so it's just fun to know that the Jericho Gap is a soft road.
Yes.
But
Still
it makes
is.
a difference. When you didn't have the hard road, then it was a thing where some people were like, well, maybe we're not going to go there because it's a soft road. Yeah.
And a fun little story that we love to tell and that I've been taught since my time being involved was about some of the people that lived there. When heavy travel took place on the Gap, right when 66 was booming, after like 2 or 3 rainstorms, there was several travelers who would get their Model A's and T's stuck in the mud. And they would have to go find a farmer or a rancher and get them to pull them out with their horses and buggies and all that kind of stuff. Well, those travelers were paying those farmers and ranchers nickels and dimes and making back day a lot of money off pulling cars out of the mud. Rumor has it they were doing that. Like I said, this is a rumor. In the middle of the night, a group of these farmers decided they were just going to keep going out there and wetting the roads with their buckets of water and keep making a buck or $1.50 and keep pulling travelers out of the mud. So that went on for many, many, many years. That's why it's known as the muddiest section of Texas Route 66.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's innovation.
It is innovation. So I would recommend, if anybody of you guys are on Facebook, go out there and search the Jericho Gap Facebook page and learn about what they're doing. They are They have a huge social media program that they do, and it's just amazing. All this tour, they do tours out there. They do some other cool events like stargazing out at the ghost town. It's an incredible project that I've had the privilege to be a part of and learn from, and watching it grow every day. It's crazy the impact.
Wow.
Moving on down the road a little bit further, Groom, Texas is another small little community that has two pretty neat attractions. First one is what we call the Leaning Tower of Texas. It kind of sounds like Leaning Tower of Pisa, and that's really what the attraction models after. It's a water tower that a gentleman who owned a former truck stop needed to get people off I-40 when they were building it and come to Route 66 and reroute. So he put a water tower, leaned it into the ground at just the right angle so it won't tip. And it has since then been pulling people off the road because they think that tower is about to fall over. And so they stop, take a picture, and it's just been an off-kilter attraction. After that, we have currently the second largest, according to my notes here, it's still the second largest cross in the southern hemisphere. Stands about 190 foot tall. It's at the Cross of Our Lord Jesus Christ complex, and it's just an awesome little visitor center that they have open. It's a very, very big place for like big tours. They stop, use the restroom, walk around the complex. They have all kinds of religious related statues about Christ and the Last Supper and all this religious stuff. And if you're into that stuff, I personally am. I find it fascinating. It's an ongoing thing. They're adding statues whenever they can, and they can fund the money for it. They actually just added a statue to the Last Dinner section of the complex. So that's always a fun little attraction. You look up and you just see this giant cross, and on a good day, and if the weather's right, you can see that cross about 10 miles, 12 miles outside of town before you even get to town.
I think that there is a huge draw for religious tourism. Not going to get into a political debate about Christian and Christian nationalism and all of that stuff on this, but I did a podcast in season 1 that talked about travel themes and helping people find what their main thing that they like when they travel. So are you a history buff, a foodie? Do you like cocktails? Do you like wine? Are you a bourbon lover? Are you, military history, religious history, and then how to tie in another theme with it? Because when you go to an area, you can't do the big checklist where, okay, here, photo, here, photo, here. You focus on the parts of travel that really are your interest, and you add something into it. Like, I'm a big history buff who is also a huge foodie. So for me, those are the big draws. What can I learn about the area? And then where do we eat? So when you're talking about stops that have like the Stations of the Cross, more about, different works of art that they have collected, that is a huge draw for that themed loving traveler.
And it's crazy the people that don't have that draw too, that still stop in and look and learn about Christ. And that's something that I found astonishing. I've stopped in there and I see this family come in and they had no knowledge of what it was about. And it took the folks that work at this property, this visitor center, to teach them a little bit about it while they had the time. And the joy that it brought to those people was, it's hard to describe. I mean, it left me speechless.
It's even an appreciation, though, of the works of art and the artists that create the outdoor statuary or the paintings. And there's so much art involved in any religion as they tell their story. And these artists want to leave something for the next generation to understand. The appreciation of the art alone is just incredible. At least that's what I see. I mean, it ties in a lot for people who like history, people who like art, people who like religion. It can encompass different other themes like that. The art alone astounds me. They pulled together and do.
I couldn't agree more. It's amazing. And so that's kind of what Groom's claim to fame is right now, is that complex. And it's so far it's been worthy of a stop. And I stop pretty much every time I have to go Might have to use the restroom. It might be the main reason, but I stop and see what all's going on.
Okay, in your 152-mile stretch, that's where you stop for the potty. They got you. But that's important too, because as you're seeing small independent businesses, times are tighter, you're starting to see a lot of restrooms for customers only kind of a thing. And it's nice to know where you can go, that you have a clean, safe potty.
And they allow you they welcome everybody. But I will advocate for the fact that if you do stop at a place like that, consider leaving a little bit of a monetary donation. $2 goes a long way. $1 goes a long way. $5 goes a long way. Whatever you can do to support, especially in the Panhandle of Texas. We are so disconnected from the rest of the state, especially down in our government in Austin. A lot of times we could be forgotten about when it comes to financial help for small business. So I really, really advocate for the fact that if you have to stop at one of our attractions just for a restroom break, and if you can, and if you can't, that's okay too. But stop and at least talk to them, learn from them a little bit while you can. If you can leave a donation or purchase something, purchase something. If you can't, leave a review on Google or Facebook and promote us somehow.
Even the nonprofits, they have that little registry. Sign the registry. That's how they prove attendance and how they build a market, and that helps them apply for grants. So that is an excellent point. You are the first one in this whole series to actually mention something like that,
Really?
Brady. And I always say at the nonprofits, sign the little guest books, check out the gift shops, things like that. So you think along the same lines I do, because those make, I think, the best souvenirs also. Yes,
well,
definitely.
And maybe that's because of my other hat that I wear. Not only am I a member of the Old Roosing Association, a Texas nonprofit, I'm also a board director for the Barbed Wire Museum in McLean. And we're a free museum. We welcome everybody, but we do require you to sign that guest book, because that helps us in a long way. In last year's numbers, which were only open from March 1st to October 31st, the winter months are just slow, and the maintenance upkeep to be open when there's not many people coming in is a little bit too much for us, because we're a small museum and we are small on funds. But from that time period that we were open, we ended up having about 5,000 people, all 50 states and 85 countries, come in to a small town of about 500 people. That's astonishing. So we highly, highly advocate for that kind of stuff, the guest book and the conversations and the promotions. Take a picture, post it in a Facebook group. Say, I visited this today and highly recommend you come see it. Leave us a review. All that is what keeps us motivated and keeps us going.
That is the power of social media for good. That's, sharing. I don't like the phrase hidden gems. I think I like the phrase forgotten stories. That is the power of social media, to help bring those forgotten stories back into the light so that we can encourage other people to go and check it out for themselves.
That's a good way to look at it. I'm so used to saying hidden gems, because that's just something that I've strived to find all my life. It's hidden gems, but forgotten stories, I'm going to have to remember that. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that's what I like to kind of think of it as, because nobody hid them on purpose. Time forgot them, and we need to bring them back into the light.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah. And I guess that goes really well with some of our Texas Route 66 motels and cafes and stuff like that, which we'll talk some of the food aspects, I'm sure, in a moment, because we have quite a few of those.
We're getting into foods. The next question.
Okay. Well, let me finish the rest, because we got several more towns, or a few more towns to get through. But you leave Groom and you go west towards Amarillo. You're going to drive through a small little community called Conway, which is smaller than Allen Reed, which I previously mentioned. Conway, there's not really much you can see there anymore besides a grain elevator and ruins of old gas stations and motels. There's a lot of ruins there that are just so depleted, but they're also a good reminder of what life was like back then, and how important Route 66 was to that town, and how it went from something to almost nothing. So take a few minutes, maybe drive around and look at that stuff. There used to be an attraction there called the Bug Ranch, but that was recently moved a few years ago to Amarillo to help preserve it. There were some issues with land and safety and things like that. So moving into Amarillo, which is the main city in the Panhandle for Route 66, there's all kinds of things from the original alignment down Amarillo Boulevard that goes through town, starting from the east side to the west. We have the Big Texan Steak Ranch. A lot of people might have heard of the 72-ounce steak challenge. That we could talk all day about the Big Texan Challenge and the things that have taken place there. But that is a awesome attraction. You must go once in your life to experience it. If you don't enjoy the food, go at least once. Say you've done it and check it off the list. With the Big Texan, just about half a mile down the road is the new Bug Ranch. The Bug Ranch was saved with a collaborative effort with both the association I'm in, the Big Texan, and then we formed another group called the Bug Ranch Association to preserve that attraction that was formerly in Conway. And we ended up making it bigger and better than ever. The original location had 5 VW bugs buried in the ground, and this one now has 15. Plus limousines buried in the ground. I say buried in the ground because a lot of people think about Cadillac Ranch, which is on the western side of Amarillo. We now have this, I guess, persona of burying things in the ground at a quirky angle. And people go out there and they leave their mark and they spray paint it. But the unique thing about the Bug Ranch is it's not a muddy mess. We have paved concrete around the vehicles and making it ADA accessible for everybody. That's something that you can't really do out of Cadillac Ranch. Cadillac Ranch is in a crop field. It's in some dirt, and when it rains, it pours. And Texas mud is not an easy thing to walk through. So we felt like it was our mission to make sure this was a bigger and better attraction that everybody could enjoy at the Bug Ranch. And that's, I hope that's what we accomplished. And if you're able to go out and visit it, let us know. You've got the Bug Ranch, Cadillac Ranch, Big Texan. Downtown Amarillo is a joy to see. There's a little street called Polk Street that is named Center City that has nightlife and neon facade signs and restaurants and bars, live music venues. Pretty good city energy on a Friday or Saturday night that's enjoyable. They've done a really good job of preserving buildings and encouraging. They've got a grant program where businesses can apply for those neon facade signs, and they look gorgeous when they get them done. But when you continue out of Amarillo or out of downtown and go west, you're going to run into that 1 mile section called the historic Route 6 District on 6th Avenue, or nicknamed 6th Street. Everybody and their mom calls it 6th Street. That's what they've been doing for many, many years. And this is a 1 mile stretch packed with mom and pop antique shops, restaurants, boutiques, bars, art galleries, and a visitor center there on the far east side that's dedicated to Texas Route 6 and owned by a mom and pop business owner. So take the time and visit that. It's actually a lot of people when they come to Amarillo, they really only focus on the Big Texan Cadillac Ranch and they kind of forget about that section of it. And it's something you don't want to forget about. It's a great spot for eating. They have the oldest restaurant currently on the Texas section called the Golden Light Cafe. It's been there since 1932. I might be wrong on that. I'm not always right on my dates, but I tend to forget some things here and there. But yeah, take a time if you can and visit that section. And that's where I started my learning, was talking to those business owners on that little section. Going out of Amarillo, and Amarillo has all kinds of museums and car museum. There's an RV museum. There's the Quarter Horse Association Museum if you want to learn about horses. If you would like to visit, go visit the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Bureau website. They have a very detailed website about all things going on in the area. Going west, we have a little small town of Bushland, kind of like a mini suburb of Amarillo since it's so close. They have grown so much. They have a neat little grain elevator there with a mural on it that's lovely to take pictures. But continuing on down, you go to Wildorado, Texas, just west of Amarillo, about 30 or so miles. This was a big Rock Island Railroad town in the 1900s that served ranchers and it's a heavy cattle ranch operation. You're going to drive by a feed yard that's right there in town. And if you don't know what a feed yard is, that's a modern production cattle feeding operation. That's a big lifeline here in the Panhandle, is the feed yard industry. So you're going to see that. You'll see the original town, and you're going to see old agricultural tractors and old old grain elevators and a little bit of new in there mixed in. I love taking pictures in Little Laredo. I find those weird angles of the abandoned grain silo and the abandoned tractors. And one of the buildings now has a Texas flag painted on the side of it. That's just so gorgeous to look at. But other than that, that's kind of what Little Laredo still has left. There's not much going on, but they are having a revitalization going on. More people have moved back there, I guess, because of the agriculture related industry, and the school's grown a lot. The school's still open. They still got a post office. So they're starting to boom again, which is nice to see. A lot of people would consider Little Laredo the gateway to the high plain. That's kind of when I mentioned the Mesa setting, that's where it kind of starts, is in that little area. And then Vega, Texas. Vega is, I would consider, our poster child right now for promoting Route 66 in Texas. They have done an awesome, awesome job the past few years of promoting their history and preserving their small town. Something that they're known for is pie, gas stations, and right now murals. They have done an awesome job painting murals all throughout town and promoting people to come visit their mural tour. They have an awesome museum there called the Milburn Price Cultural Museum. It's also a free museum. Highly encourage you to stop there and check it out. Greg Kahn, the curator there, has done a phenomenal job keeping that thing up and going. He's also a little bit of an artist himself. He welds like crazy. He makes sculptures, and he makes outside of the museum. You can walk around this little section of all the stuff that he has been a part of and made in one way. He built the world's largest branding iron currently sitting outside the museum. That's just so cool. But one of the attractions there that is often overlooked, and whenever I am touring something, bringing a tour in or showing people around, I take them to the wind turbine that's at the museum. A lot of people don't realize how big the wind turbine blades are. And this here, they allow you to walk inside the wind turbine blade, and you can crawl in it if you really want to.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it is.
Look that big when you're driving down the highway and you see them, and even when you get closer, but you see one blade on the back of a double extended semi-wide load.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you. Yeah, the visuals.
But then once you get into it, it's a whole nother visual. So it's crazy. And the west of Amarillo, there's wind turbine farms for miles and miles on it. And I'm not going to get into political. I'm not a big fan of those things. They kind of ruin the atmosphere and ruin the scenery and the pictures for me. But anyway, but it is cool to see how the actual part of the wind turbine really is huge. I mean, it is massive. I can crawl and walk through that thing for several feet and not feel claustrophobic. They've painted a nice little mural, a map of Route 66 on the side of this wind turbine too. So even if the museum's closed, they encourage you, walk around, look at the stuff outside, and enjoy it. Enjoy the wind turbine. Enjoy the 9/11 memorial that they have out there. And across the street from that is a restored 1932 Magnolia oil filling station. It's actually double-decker at one point, and you can still kind of tell it was 2 stories. But back in the day, 2-story oil stations weren't a big thing, and it's one of the very few still left in the United States. So we find that very, very cool history that we want to keep going and promote. The next town in Texas has an awesome kind of draw to it. It's Adrian, Texas. A lot of people don't realize that it's the geographical midpoint of the whole entire Route 66 corridor. There's a cafe sitting in this town called the Midpoint Cafe and Gift Shop. And there's a line drawn in the middle of the road that is the actual midpoint line that Fran Hauser, the original owner of the cafe, capitalized on and made it what it is today. So when you're standing on this line, you're 1,139 miles to Chicago, downtown, and 1,139 miles to the Santa Monica Pier. It is probably the most photographed attraction that we currently have in the state of Texas when it's open and when it's not open. We love seeing the amount of people from all over the world coming into the cafe, taking a picture of the signs, and exploring the little town of Adrian. So we're going to talk more about the food there in a minute because I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Moving on down, the last and final thing in Texas straddles the New Mexico state line. It's a ghost town called Glen Rio, Texas, New Mexico. A lot of history there. It was also one of those that just kind of died by the relocation of the alignments and all that. But there's still some gas station buildings still standing there, old motel ruins. It's pretty cool to just sit there on the side of the road and just reflect on what was. There is some revitalization and cleanup going on the New Mexico side. We'll see what happens in the next few years there. There is a, what's the correct term to say? Certain shop that is legal to use in New Mexico. Green leaf. Yeah. You can buy these green leaves over in New Mexico, in Glen Rio, on that side. So people have their opinions on that. I personally don't have an opinion. I don't care to do it myself, but it's their business, not mine. So stop and look at the old Texaco station building still there. Just don't cross the property line is all I ask. There is one resident still in Glen Rio that lives behind that building. You're welcome to take pictures, but you can't really cross into the actual property. But there's a story out there about the Glen Rio in the town and that service station. There's a Pontiac car sitting outside that station where a gentleman whose family was still living there was murdered in Adrian. And he was murdered in that car, and that car has not moved since that murder happened when they moved it back to Glen Rio. So if you like that kind of murder mystery kind of style of history, I would highly recommend going to search about the Glen Rio Pontiac on the internet.
Yeah, it's called dark history. People who like to hunt that kind of stuff out. It's dark tourism. So see, again, there's something for everybody on this Route 66.
We have all kinds of things for everybody. And, relating back to the movie Fanatics and Cars, several things that inspired that movie. The U Drop In Shamrock. Cadillac Ranch is the mountain range in the movie. The U Drop In Ramon's Body Shop. The Midpoint Cafe owner, Fran Hauser, inspired Flo, the owner of V8's Cafe. Sheriff, which that's an Oklahoma story, but the sheriff was voice acted by a Oklahoma Route 66 historian and advocate in Oklahoma who had a lot of influence on the Texas portion as well. So we have a lot of other movie-related things for those people. We have the dark aspect. We have, if you like space history, Amarillo has a pretty intense space history relating to Rick Husband. You can go find just so many different rabbit trails you can go down.
See, now this sounds like a really fun family road trip with the kids, especially if they're used to the movie Cars. So gosh, I almost think that I need to kind of make like a workbook or something like that to add to the show notes for this, so that the families that they want to take their kids with, the things that they can tie in together. That's kind of a fun idea.
Yeah. Well, and we can provide you website links and things like that, maybe.
This could be fun. So this takes us now into food. Food, I think, is such a huge part of travel. It ties you into the history of the area, the people, their cultures and norms. I'm going to make you pick one. What's one local food or drink visitors absolutely have to try on this section of the Route 66, and where is the best place to get it, in your opinion?
Oh, God, you're going to tell me one? Oh, that's so hard. Okay, I'm going to do the best I can with this. So it's going to be, and I'm going to do a category. We're all about our Texas beef in the Panhandle. So when you think of beef, you got burgers, you've got steak, and you've got Texas barbecue. And we have all kinds of things to offer in those three realms of beef. Probably the biggest, well-known out there is the Big Texan Steak Ranch and their steak challenge. If you can eat a 72-ounce steak, 3 shrimp, fried shrimp, a salad, roll, and a thing of tea in a matter of an hour, it's a free meal. Can you imagine? I for one, I might do it one day. I've been debating about it. I'm not going to lie.
That's like a meal for my entire family. That is so funny. A 72-ounce steak and then the shrimp and the salad.
And
I'm like, that's a meal for the family with leftovers.
And the people that do it, there's a rule that they have a little sign when you walk into the building of the current 3 record holders. One of them is a 22-year-old. Well, at the time she was 22. This was 2 or 3 years ago now. She ate 3 of them in a matter of 35 minutes.
Oh my gosh. No. Nope.
Yeah.
And the poor thing was in the hospital for the next 3 weeks. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
but,
I would like to know, it's something that, anyway. But
so you said Texas barbecue. I want to go back to that real quick. What's the difference between, Texas barbecue and like Southern barbecue. I mean, we're talking a big difference here. We're talking beef versus pork.
Hmm. We are. We love the big old briskets and the big old beef ribs and salt and pepper all the way on those briskets. Smoke them for several hours on end. We in Amarillo, there's a place called Tyler's Barbecue, not on 66. It kind of got its start there, but it's moved off in the town a little bit, just off I-40. That's easy to access. They are currently number 8, I believe, in the state of Texas, in like the best eighth place of the best in Texas right now. It's a whole. We get pretty aggressive with our beef barbecue here in Texas. We have the barbecue trail, we have the contest constantly, and when you dethrone a king, you're gonna hear about it, but you should be proud about it at the same time.
There you go.
Yeah, it's such its own breed of animal. It's hard to kind of, and I'm not a big cook. Yeah, literally, I'm not a big cook, but I've grown up around barbecuing all my life. My dad and I have done it a lot, and we smoke a lot of brisket in the state. We grill a lot of steaks, and we grill a lot of hamburgers as well.
Yum.
Yes, and actually, if you're traveling 66 in Texas, I encourage you to at least try one barbecue spot. The U Drop In currently has a cafe that serves smoked sliced brisket and pulled pork on Friday and Saturdays. It is really worth it. It's so good. And then they'll do like barbecue sandwiches throughout the week as well, or a brisket burrito that is to die for.
Okay, so I'm going to go like wipe the drool up real quick, but I'm going to have you while I'm doing that. Tell me about one piece of hidden history or a story from this stretch of the road that most visitors don't know, but probably should.
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. Because there's so much.
You might have covered that with the Jericho Gap because I had no clue about it.
Well, I might have, but I don't think anybody really knows. I could talk about, so Vega, if there's any country music fans out there, and
there's a few.
know Vince Gill. I mean, I personally love Vince Gill, and I'm going to have to double check the actual song it was, but there's currently a motel there in Vega called the Vega Motel, and it's still standing, but it's not in operation anymore. There is somebody living there, but it's no longer an operating motel. He performed a song called Never Knew Lonely. He filmed it inside a motel room, filmed the music video inside the Vega Motel. And it's kind of a forgotten piece that people don't know about. So it's something that I make sure I tell people and I show them, look, this is where he performed and filmed his music video for that new release that got published. Gosh, there's so many stories, Dannelle.
Well, that's the beauty of Route 66.
Yes.
I know it's the 100th anniversary this year. And I mean, that's why people need to just hop in their car and go, is to stop at these places, talk to these people, meet them, and learn the stories behind. I mean, that's the whole point of a really good road trip, if you ask me.
Yes. And I just thought of Allen Reed, that small little community that's still standing. Way before Route 66 even was a thing, it had a nickname called Gougi. There was a famous bank robbery that took place in that town that got so violent that the robbers were, pulling eyes out of the bank people.
Oh my gosh.
Ever since then, it had that name of Gougi.
Dark tourism. Dark tourism. Okay. Oh boy. So now we're going to talk about friendly. If visitors really want to meet locals and feel a part of the community, because you said how welcoming it is and the people are, not just pass through, not just, I'm on Route 66, I'm doing it, there's one picture, let's keep going. Where should they go or what should they do?
To meet the people? Oh, so definitely visit the 2 museums, the big ones that we have, the Devil's Rope, Barbed Wire, and Texas Route 66 Museum in McLean. McLean also has another museum called the McLean Allen Reed Historical Museum. Those folks in charge are, and the Milburn Price in Vega. Those folks are locals. They've been there all their life, and they reflect on the time of what it was like back in the heyday of Route 66 tourism travel. and the importance of it, and how time just slowed down so fast. And then all of a sudden everything was gone. It's people like that that keep me inspired to keep being involved and learn more and find a way to contribute somehow, some way. I'm contributing with what I'm learning in college, which is digital communication and media, and agriculture communication and stuff like that. The man who founded the museum in McLean, the Devil's Rope Museum, he is a farmer and rancher. He is currently 94 years old, still active. He is active than me most days. Like he runs circles around me and I just can't keep up with him. But he's not always at the museum. But there are stories out there that he has told to a wide audience that prior to you coming to visit, learn about those stories, read about them. That gives you a good sense of some things you could talk about with the museum workers that might be there at the time, or his son and his daughter-in-law might be working at the museum because it's a family affair. That's who I've got connected with. One thing that he is a very colorful person too. So one thing that he told me when I first met him, and I met him at the museum, and we're walking around the exhibit, and he's showing me like the Route 66 Association exhibit art. He's like, "You see those signs up there, son? I know that one's real. I know that one's real. I know that one's legit, and that one is too, because I stole them myself." And people might turn their head the other direction on that comment, but really, when things were going downhill and collapsing and falling apart, people had to do that to save the history. You had to steal.
Well, and that's the Provence. I mean, so that you can honestly say, yes, this is real, because we're in a world full of nostalgia and reproductions. So to have the real items is important.
Yes, big time, big time. So
Now,
anyway, I hope that answers your question. But you can also, if it wasn't for the lady at Texas Ivy Antiques on 6th Street, Dora Maroney, if it wasn't for her knowledge of her life, she was born on the Amarillo section of 66, and her business that her and her mom started, she has been there all of her life, from being born to now, and her story has impacted me to get involved. So it's people like those business owners, the people, the small town folk that you see at the cafe. Ask them questions; they'll talk to you. Always.
I love sitting at the counter at small town cafes. You look left, you look right, and you have a heck of a conversation if you just open your mouth.
Yep. That's if it's not full of visitors from other places. It's still regardless.
They tend to go to the booths, though. I don't think that they tend to. Not everybody likes to just go sit at the counter. I like to, because I meet and have the most interesting conversations. And that's where you usually get the locals who meet at the same time, have the same seat every day. And they're the ones that they always, they're going to solve the world's problems. They're a little behind on that, if you ask me. But I mean,
just like the Midpoint Cafe. The Midpoint Cafe of Adrian is just like that. That we have and it's there's not a whole lot of seating in there. So when it gets filled up, man, it is slammed. There's the round table that sits about 8 locals, and they're there. I can always count Sunday morning. They're drinking coffee.
They're the experts.
Yep. And even when they can't sit there, they'll be like, "Well, darn, I'll come back in an hour," and they'll come back.
Oh yeah, they want their spots.
Yeah.
One thing I love about Route 66 is I have always felt that travel doesn't have to be expensive to be memorable. I know times are tight for a lot of people. They're pinched for pennies, but the best thing about a road trip is the flexibility. You can pack a cooler if you want, so you're bringing food or hitting a grocery store. You've got outdoor experiences, but on Route 66, I think it's so fabulous when you're on a budget, because like you said, you have museums that are free, but you can leave a donation and, be available there. But also the photo ops. I mean, it's such a great way to make memories while exploring a great piece of history.
Yes. And that's why we work so hard in this association to preserve the gas stations. We have a list of about 6 that we want to complete. We're hoping to work on 2 of them this year before the ending of the celebration, and we should have one finished, I hope, by the summertime. It's things like those gas stations and those signs that might need to be repainted, the billboards. That's what keeps us going.
Yeah,
and it's if you can't visit every big attraction, find those small buildings. Find those filling stations, those neon signs. I love finding old signs out there that maybe work or don't work. Photograph them, and I have a little file on my computer and my phone of signs that
Okay.
I have photographed.
I'm expecting you to create one of those coffee table books then with all your photos. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah,
Just to pre-purchase.
I've crossed that bridge, especially after I took a little excursion to South Africa. I've thought about doing that. I just college kid, got to find the money. But I'll now that you've mentioned that, I'll work harder on doing that.
I'll be on that list for the pre-orders. This takes us down to our last question. What's your favorite only here experience? Something visitors truly can't do anywhere else but on your section of the Texas Route 66.
Oh, that again, I'd have to go back to the stuff that we offer in the smaller communities. How many people can say that they have seen a brazier formed by barbed wire, like sculpted to look like a bra made out of barbed wire?
Well, I will say sometimes that's what they feel like when you're wearing them. So not necessarily just a barbed wire one, but sometimes on our end as ladies, we're like, yeah, that's what it feels like we're wearing. But yeah, no, to actually see one.
Yeah, to see one completely made of barbed wire, tying into its history of being a former brazier factory.
That's cool.
Where else are you going to see that? Where else are you going to say you can walk through a wind turbine blade? I'm not aware of anything currently.
No.
Where else can you see a cattle operation all along the side of the route? Where else can you see a tractor currently grazing its croplands? That's such a broad question, but if I had to narrow it down, it would be those three aspects.
Cool.
What we offer in those small communities, in the museums, and Shamrock, we have a little museum that has a history dedicated to Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde was a big thing in that area of the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma region. You're gonna learn about some things like that. Learn about our ghost town history. We have a lot of ghost towns that are no longer a thing. There's not even any foundations left. Old railroad stops. Do a little bit of research if you can before you come, but that's going to bring you to those things that you can only do in Texas.
So I'm going to kind of give you a tagline moment here. You haven't been to the Texas section of Route 66 unless you have what?
Unless you stop at the Midpoint Cafe and the Midpoint Line and have a slice of chocolate cream pie, or any pie at that matter. I personally prefer chocolate cream, but she is known, or the cafe is known for their pies and their hamburgers. Their hamburgers are huge. They are, oh gosh, we offer a triple meat hamburger, and I will never forget this gentleman from Mexico was riding his motorcycle across the entire route. He rode it from Mexico to Chicago, back to California, and down back to Mexico. He stopped in and ordered. He wanted. I was actually serving that day. I was volunteering to help out, and he wanted the triple meat burger. And I said, "Are you sure, sir? That's a pretty massive patty." And he said, "Yeah, I'm pretty positive." Well, he wanted it all the way, so we put every vegetable, every condiment on it. we weighed that burger. It was 1.4 pounds of meat and vegetable and bread. It was this tall. Nobody can see that. We had to stick a knife through it to keep it from falling over. We bring it out.
Those are the burgers you have to eat from the top down because you can't get them in your mouth unless you get like a vice to compress it.
No joke. Or in this case, you kind of have to like spoon out of the middle and just eat it. But I'll never forget his face. I mean, his jaw dropped to the floor and was like, "I made a big mistake. I should."
We're like, "I told you."
Yeah. So it's, man, we have an awesome hamburger there, one of a kind, and serving with a slice of freshly made cream pie or apple pie. One of the best sellers, or two of them really, is coconut cream, of course, is a big seller, but Elvis pie. And if you don't know what Elvis pie is, it is a chocolate cream pie with banana and peanut butter.
Ooh. Now, I told you, I'm going to be driving that segment with my friend Cindy, who's traveled an adventure with Farm Cal.
I hope you know that you're filled up on pie. Because we have a lot of it.
Man, you've got me settling on Elvis pie as we're going through there.
Oh no, I've already talked to the cafe owner. She's going to have a sample of every flavor.
Probably. Oh no! Okay, yum, yum.
Or we're going to do something
We
like
don't
that.
have like 75 flavors, but oh my gosh, now I'm like really excited. That's definitely a pullover. Okay.
Probably going to take you home with like 3 full pies because that's just how she is. She is a hoot and a half.
Brady, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of your local expertise and insider tips with us today. It has been an absolute pleasure learning more about the Texas stretch, that 152 miles of Route 66. And I'm sure my listeners are really ready to plan their next adventure and hit that area.
You're so welcome. And one thing I'll say, I'm not originally from this area of Texas. I'm East Texas, about an hour north of Houston, but I'm a big, passionate advocate for everything Texas. And I'm not an expert. I'll be the first to admit it. But if I can ever be of service and help you plan your trip, or if anybody here in Texas can help you plan your trip, reach out to our association via Facebook or our website. It's the Texas Route 6 Association on Facebook, and the website is rt66oftexas.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and most other platforms. You can't miss my red hair. If you search Brady Andrew Wilson, you'll see the red-headed demon there in the profile picture. And I'm always happy to have a conversation when I can and make sure you have the best experience in our small but mighty and powerful section of Route 66. And I can also help in other states as well. I've got a lot of connections up and down the route.
Okay, listeners. So you've heard this, and I hope that you are as intrigued by this section of the Route 66 as I am. I want you to check the show notes because you'll have a list there of some of Brady's recommendations, as well as I'll put a bunch of links in there so that you can stay connected with the Texas Route 66 section and how to connect with them. That way you'll be able to find more updates, travel tips, and local stories on the area. So
I have one last plug. We have 2 things coming up that put on your calendars. In the first week of June, we have a Texas Route 66 festival hosted by the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Bureau. That's going to be a big celebration if you're able to make it. First week of June, there's a whole calendar out on their website. Go look for that. And in October, the association has a motor tour event. It is a 2-day long event. Kind of goes back to the question on the budget friendly. It's $66, includes your meals and your attraction entries. And all you got to do is really pay for hotels after that. We cruise from the Oklahoma state line to the Mexico state line with a banquet dinner and a big party the night before.
Oh, how fun.
All details are on our association website. If you ever feel like you want to contribute, please feel free. That money goes straight back into our projects.
Thank you, Brady. I look forward to chatting with you more later.
I appreciate you, my friend. Talk soon.
If today's conversation made you think, yeah, I want to go there, then we have done our job.
You've been listening to the Traveling Cheesehead Podcast. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your best travel buddies. Check back for another Destination Diaries episode every week. Thanks for listening. This has been a Traveling Cheesehead production.
I'm Dannelle Gay, reminding you that adventure doesn't always mean far away. Sometimes it's just one great story away. See you on the road beyond the exits.